So the VelociCoaster has been officially open now for just over a month, and seeing as though Chris is the only one of the four of us that's ridden it so far, it's time to reach out to the experts. Yes, I'm talking about 4 Producers Club members who have ridden it multiple times, and I am welcoming them onto the show to talk about the newest addition to Islands of Adventure. This is episode 463 of the Unofficial Universal Orlando podcast. Hey everyone, welcome to the show. As I said, we are talking VelociCoaster. Chris is the only one that's been on it so far. He has had his 20 minutes to talk about it. That's it. He's done. We don't want to hear from Chris anymore. So I've given Michelle, Chris, and Tracy the week off this week, and I am joined by 4 very special members of the Producers Club. So joining us in alphabetical order is Mrs. God's Pocket herself, Gillian.
Rawr.
Interesting. A hello would have worked just as well, but okay.
I'm a velociraptor, that's
Okay.
the idea.
Mr. Judson Whitfield making his podcast debut.
Hey, everybody.
Repping theme park stuff. Joining us, stepping over from our sister podcast, Rush of Fear, and joining us on UUOP is Mr. Kenneth Leeming.
I'm gonna try to make my favorite velociraptor noise, which is the go, go. Now,
And stepping back in after replacing Michelle a couple of weeks ago is Nicole Hunter.
What's going on, everybody? I can't follow that. I really can't.
Well, welcome aboard, the 4 of you. It is great. We are on video, so we can all see each other. This is kind of bizarre. I'm not used to doing this. Anyway, before we discuss the ride and its parts, I'm sure our listeners, and I need to know, what qualifies you 4 to be on this podcast to talk about the newest attraction that's open? So what I want to do is go around alphabetical order and find out how many times you guys have ridden this attraction and how many times you've ridden it at night is very specific as well. So Gillian, what are we at this point?
I think I'm probably the lowest. I've ridden it 5 times with 1 night ride.
Okay. Judson?
10 times, 1 night ride, and 1 very late dusk ride.
Ooh. Actually, that's because that is a different ride. Actually, that is a good point, because like I know from riding Hagrid's at dusk and then riding Hagrid's in the dark are 2 different experiences. So okay, I like that one. Kenneth?
9 rides and 1 at night.
Oh, Kenneth, you've disappointed me. You were my banker for the winner of this, the amount of rides, because I think in the first week you'd ridden it something like 7 times.
Yeah, and then I rode it twice on opening day, and I haven't gone back.
Nicole?
20 times, and I'd say probably about 30% of those were night rides.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
This is the person that lives like a stone's throw away from the parks and is in there every day. So fair enough.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm jealous. I'm going back on Wednesday, so I'm going to try to get some more rides in.
That doesn't count.
Nice.
That doesn't count.
Maybe I'll
for this,
come
though.
meet you because I'm off Wednesday. We'll go night ride.
Oh, hell yeah.
Of course, we're going to split this into its different parts, as the VelociCoaster is much more than just a coaster in Islands of Adventure. So first off, I kind of want to talk about what you all think it adds to Jurassic Park as a land, and then obviously what it adds to Islands of Adventure overall, because obviously you look at, Kenneth, I know from when you did your vlogs with Gary, sort of that raptor paddock section that's open in Jurassic Park that you can see into the coaster itself, and then how much they've opened up that backside of the Discovery Centre, adding that whole area into it as well. And then obviously the skyline across the lagoon, how much it all adds to Islands of Adventure and Jurassic Park.
I think other than Hogsmeade, it's the most significant change to Islands of Adventure in terms of like the overall feeling that it gives the park. Because there's so much more movement. It's so visible from so many different places. It makes Jurassic Park feel like 200% more exciting as a land. I love everything it adds. I have no negatives, no regrets or like I wish that this one thing was different. No, like I think everything about it is positive in the way it affects everything.
Yeah, and you used to walk through, like, but the transition from the Kong to the Jurassic Park area to Hogsmeade was so long and it was so dead. And now there's just so much more life there. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's the heartbeat that the land needed. Because it was just like you said, you walk through and it was kind of a pass through. River Adventure might be a little high and you're like, so you just go straight to Hogsmeade and you're like, okay, there's not really much else here. but now they're putting extra effort into like drinks and food and blue churros and all this other stuff, that it's all these details that land was just so desperately needing. And even like going into Camp Jurassic, you go just walk through to explore, you look over and you see the VelociCoaster and you hear the screams, and it's not just across the lagoon. When you're in it, you can really feel it, and you feel that excitement, even if you're not on it. You can absorb it all in.
And the sounds, I'm a huge fan of the sound design of all of the areas, and walking through now. It used to be just silence with, I know it was the nice Jurassic Park music, and it was like a tropical version of the Caribbean style Jurassic Park version. Calypso, that's it.
Yeah.
Which was nice, but now you hear the raptor screeches, you hear the paddock, you hear all of the talking in the background, because you could hear that first launch. You can hear the dialogue, you can hear Owen talking, you can hear the raptors crying, so you can hear all those sounds. And then for me, my favorite thing is just to watch. There, you can see that whole with the paddock open, where all the big sections are, and then the first launch comes straight across in front of you, and then the second launch comes around and then shoots straight out from in front of you. And especially at night, that is incredibly exciting to just stand there and watch it go, because the blue's going, all the blue lights, and then it comes through to the launch, and then all the lights turn red and they just shoot off, and it's just so cool. I could stand there and watch that for hours.
And they've been adding more like sounds to the land too, right? Like they keep adding more stuff.
That's good, because I agree with you, Judson, that me and Tracy have said it for a long time, that Jurassic Park felt like, unless you were going there specifically to ride the river adventure, which a lot of the time people aren't, with it being a water ride, that it was just like a jungly pass through. There wasn't a lot to entice you in there. Now having that draw in there is a huge plus for that land. It's like you mentioned Hogsmeade. With Hagrid's, it's like the sounds when you walk into Hogsmeade now, you hear the sounds of Hagrid's motorbikes, and I can imagine that the VelociCoaster, from what you said about the sound design, is very similar to that as well. Lots of silent nodding. Yes.
Yes.
That's the problem with having on video. We can rely on seeing each other nodding and stuff.
Communication, yes.
But yeah, I love, like, obviously we haven't experienced it. We've only seen the videos of it, and I love that they've opened that back section up of the Discovery Centre and then put some really awesome elements of it right in front. You've got the barrel, like the mosasaur roll, right in front of where you stood. That is awesome, unless you're a tool who wants to throw ice at people on it, but that's another story. And then obviously like the drop from the top hat comes down there as well, which looks like it's going to come into where you stood and then just veer off. It's just that they've really considered that coaster and how much it is a part of that land now.
And visually, like it not blocking the top of the Discovery Center, like from the opposite side of the lake and the lagoon, is huge too. Like, because if it just blocked that building, it would feel kind of like disconnected from the area, but they designed it in such a way that it looks like perfectly placed and like it's always been there.
That's what I was going to say. It doesn't take anything away from the lagoon view. Absolutely nothing. It only adds to it. I'm sure there's somebody out there who would say that it does, but I think it only adds to the ambiance.
I also love, I mean, it's a little weird because it's, Jurassic World in Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
But I will say that, like, it replaced the Triceratops encounter and then the Raptor encounter, which are both, Raptor moved, but Triceratops I loved because it was a Jurassic Park attraction that didn't go wrong,
Yeah.
And now VelociCoaster is also one of those. Like it's in the pre-show they have Owen like talking about what a bad idea it is and what could go wrong, but then nothing actually does go wrong. It's just a roller coaster in a raptor paddock, and you get to see some dinosaurs and you have a fun time, and then it's over. There's no disaster that happens on there. And I love being able to go to Jurassic Park and ride a Jurassic Park ride that goes the way it's supposed to.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, I mean, it's funny because we've talked about it. What I love about why they've added VelociCoaster in there is, I think if you look at Universal sort of 10 years ago, they were trying to compete with Disney, building more family-friendly attractions to try and steal some of that family market away from Disney. And I think they've realised that they can't compete with Disney. And then with Hagrid's, and now definitely with VelociCoaster, they've gone, do you know what? Disney can do what they do. We'll let them have the families with little kids. This is what we do best, and we are going to do, arguably I don't know what you guys think, a serious coaster. It's not just a theme park. Like you have a Disney coaster or a Busch Gardens, or where they're kind of tame. Not that it's not a Cedar Point coaster. It's not a Six Flags Magic Mountain. Whereas this, I think, will sit in a list of those top coasters in the world at this point.
It already does.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's combining all of that. You mentioned Cedar Point, the thrill of Cedar Point, the theming of, Disney or other parks. It's combining that all into one master coaster that it's, comparably speaking, I can't think of anything else like it at all. And it's setting the bar really, really high, really, really high for what's to come after this, which makes me excited.
That's a good question.
Yes.
Like, what do you do after that?
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to find out.
That's what I'm looking for when I come. I want the highest thrill possible. If I don't feel like I'm going to die, I don't want to do it. That's what I'm looking for. I'm a thrill junkie. I'm an adrenaline junkie. I don't want it to be tamed down. And Hagrid, I love Hagrid. It's amazing. It's great. It has so many unique elements and unique things about it. And of course, it's Harry Potter, which means I'm automatically going to be obsessed with it.
Yeah.
But it's not a proper coaster.
No.
This is a proper coaster. And then you have the universal theming. You have creative
Yes.
on it. It's like the perfect amalgamation of everything that I want at Universal. Like, I feel like there was no holds barred, and that's what I'm looking for personally.
I mean, would we all agree at this point? Like, you look at what coasters used to be, and they were just steel structures, and that was it, with a name and maybe a tiny little bit of theming. And then you look at something like Rock and Roller Coaster, and then the Hulk, which had a little bit of theming on it, and then Dragon Challenge, or Dueling Dragons as it was, had a little bit of theming. The theming was more in the queue. And then Hagrid's has kind of took that theming to the next level. We finally got a proper coaster with proper theming on it. And for me, I don't know, like, I obviously keep an eye on with what's going around, but it feels like the first proper coaster enthusiasts coaster with that next level of theming in it.
Yep.
100%.
I would think so. I haven't gone to any parks outside of Florida. So I, can't really speak from experience on that, but just from knowing what other coasters are out there, like Six Flags, who have like what DC and stuff themed coasters, it still seems like they're just roller coasters with a sticker slapped on them.
Yeah.
Or at Disneyland, I think the closest you could compare it to would be like Incredicoaster, which again is pretty much just a roller coaster, and you get some Incredibles figures on there and maybe some sound effects and music, but it doesn't put you fully into the world of the Incredibles the way that VelociCoaster does with Jurassic World.
And that's the really incredible thing is, like,
Pardon the pun.
From the moment you from the moment you step into like the Jurassic, like the VelociCoaster queue, you're there. Like, and it's through the entire ride, through the entire attraction.
Awesome.
And it feels that way from the beginning. And maintaining that while on a legitimate world-class thrill coaster is.
Yeah, well, and I've heard people say too, once you're on the ride, that the theming is very light. I don't know what else they could have possibly when you leave and then when you come back, and that first section is very themed, and there's little Easter eggs too. Like, ask the TMs, ask them to tell you about the Easter eggs, because you'll hear all kinds of stuff. But short of putting a raptor running up with you at that top hat, I don't know what else they could have done.
That'd been cool.
Yeah,
it would.
Right. Just chasing up with you. But I mean, they really do. The sound effects. I think we had this conversation where it's keep your ears open.
Yes.
A lot of the theming, where they maybe you're going too fast, so you can't put too much in. Just keep your ears open, listen, and that kind of supplements while you're speeding through, which half the time you're blacking out because you're like, oh my gosh, where am I? What's going on? So, I mean, I think they did the perfect amount. Other than that, it would have just been, slapped on. But I thought they killed it.
Well, from what I can gather as well, that theming on the actual coaster itself is for the people watching, not the people on the coaster. Because from what I've spoken to people, it's like you're moving that fast, you can't see anything anyway. It's kind of like SeaWorld with Aquatica. I think I've said this on the show before, when the that slide that goes through the Commerson's dolphins, and watch as you go through the Commerson's dolphins, you're like, where are they again?
Yeah. I always stick my arms out and slow myself down while I'm going through there. Like, oh, I'm going to see a dolphin while I'm in here.
Yeah, the theming isn't necessarily for, unless you're in the front row, I would gather, the theming isn't necessarily for you on the attraction itself.
I disagree a little bit. When I am on, I forget, I think it's the left. If you're sitting in the left seat, I forget. Either the left seat or the right seat. You get a couple of really close flybys to those velociraptors when you're in the paddock.
That first section too.
Yeah. When you get the screech in your ear while you're just, there's one flying right here and then it goes right past you. I mean, yeah, you don't spend a lot of time with it. It doesn't slow you down to admire the animatronics like on Hagrid, but I don't want that either.
No.
So I'm fine with it.
Also, that wouldn't fit like inside of the Jurassic World theme. Like the whole idea is goofy and stupid, but it only would work in a thing like Jurassic Park or Jurassic World, where the entire universe and concept is based off of like campy stupidity. You know, it works perfectly for what it is.
Agreed.
Okay, obviously, so moving on a little bit, you kind of already brought it up. We know at Universal, queues are a huge part of their attractions. You know, it has become probably as much a part of the of new attractions as the attraction itself at this point. So, just you've already kind of mentioned it, the queue. How much of a part does it play in that attraction?
Oh, enormous! From walking in and seeing those, I'd never had to wait in like the extended queue. It was either like inside of the main one or single rider, so I can't speak to what's outside of that first room.
That's great.
But yeah, it was a good day. Couple days, but from the moment you're there, like everything just kind of feels natural and looks really well placed. It, like I think I said it when I submitted the first reaction thing a couple months ago. Like the 3 different types of raptors being in there and getting different experiences that all feel unique and genuine is incredible.
I love the outdoor section. Didn't mind sitting in the extended queue at all because, like I said, I'm a weirdo and I just like to watch it. And that whole outdoor section, you're right next to it. I don't know of any other queue that puts you directly next to a coaster. And you can just sit there and just like, hi. As they go down from the drop, they go around the helix, they come back around, and then they come right back next to you. And you watch them do the Mosasaur roll right next to you.
So awesome.
And that is just so cool. And you can just stand there, watch people come down the hill over and over and over again. It's, I have no problem sitting in the extended queue. My husband did because he's white and he was getting very, very burned. But there's absolutely no shade. You're just cooking. But I enjoyed it.
Yeah, and even if you aren't having fun watching the coaster, you can still look across the lagoon at the rest of the park. I feel like a lot of times those kinds of extended queues are like tucked away in a corner and like hidden from everything. Yes. But here you're just like out in the open in the middle of the park, and it's awesome.
Yeah, the Gringotts one springs to mind at that point where it's kind of like, you are the dirty people. We don't want everyone else to see you there, and we're going to hide you out the back. I've stood in that extended queue. It is horrendous. I think because they hide them out of the way because they don't want people rocking up to the attraction and seeing that extended queue and going, I'm not getting in that queue because I've seen where the end of it is.
That's true.
Yeah. And I will say this, the one time that I did walk through the entire outdoor extended queue, we didn't have to wait through all of it necessarily, but like definitely had to walk the entire path and then wait through a lot of it. I think the wait time was still only maybe 75 minutes tops. Wow. I don't think yeah, the line moves fast when it's running, you know, at optimal capacity with whatever 3-4 trains, however many it is that it runs, I'm not sure. It moves fast.
Yeah, and it doesn't ever feel like it. Like the single rider, I almost try to avoid it because you go and you miss all the really like the animatronics. So a lot of people say, oh, there's static figures on the ride. It's kind of good that they're static because you wouldn't have time to take all that in. I'd rather see it in the queue,
yes,
which is what they give you. So you can see all the details, take your pictures because you still have your phone on you and be able to enjoy that. And, you know, kind of like you were saying, when you're going through that line, you're moving, you're constantly pushing through. So while you're doing that, you're picking up the energy of the role, and you're really getting a feel for what you're going to do. Even after 20 times, you still get so excited because you can just hear the screams and you feel it pumping through you. And then you go in and just the detail gets so much more intense, and you're starting to see it launch off. You hear the sound of the coaster, you hear the special effects, you see all the little details in line. It's just, I would pick a 75-minute full queue versus a 30-minute single rider where you miss all of that, for sure.
You guys are absolutely killing me, by the way, at this point.
Sorry.
14 months I have to wait to ride that thing.
It'll be worth it.
Oh.
Yeah. You have the longest wait out of anybody.
Oh, yeah. It's a 14-month long wait. Wow.
I mean, sort of talking about how that queue's set up as well, just from, like you say, that it keeps moving. I love that they've put the lockers in the middle of the attraction. Universal have suffered, theme parks have suffered so long with trying to figure out how to deal with lockers in attractions. Like, you go back to Forbidden Journey, and what an absolute nightmare that attraction is when you're trying to get in to put your stuff in and get out. And then Gringotts is just as bad. This is absolute genius, that the only people putting things in the locker are the people in line, rather than everyone who's intending on riding it trying to get into the lockers. So at any one time, you've only got so many people. And then the fact that you've got people coming around the other side to take their stuff out, it's pure genius. And I mean, you guys have used it, I guess. I haven't. Does it work as well as I think it does?
100%.
Yes.
100%. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep. It's great. And then the only drawback, I don't really think it's a drawback, is the line gets scrambled. So where whoever you were in line with when you went into the room, you're obviously going to get separated from, unless it's, you know, somebody in your party you can keep with you when you're putting your stuff away, because then you just reform another line once you're leaving that room and you have to go up a flight of stairs. But I mean, who cares?
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing as seeing like one of the pre-shows where you kind of get filed into one of those rooms.
Yes.
Everyone gets scrambled up while they're watching it, and then you queue back out. So you might not be exactly where you were before, but it's the matter of maybe 15 people, 15, 20 people, if that. So it's, in the scheme of things, it's maybe one coaster launch.
Yeah.
So,
and the lockers, like putting your stuff in the lockers is so fast and easy because you're not fighting with anybody trying to like get their stuff out. I was with Gary one time, and his complaint was, this is almost too efficient because now the line to get to the metal detector is like almost to the entrance of the locker room. Because everybody's done.
Right.
And like
it's super quick.
Yeah.
They do have 2 down there, though, right?
Two
metal detectors?
Yes.
Then so it's not that bad. Okay.
Yeah, I think there's 3, but I've only ever seen them using 2.
Two,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
The other problem is they have to have barkers who stand in that room and yell at people, "You will not be coming back to this room.
Wow.
You will retrieve your items from the other side. It will not look like this room." So that you're really paying attention to what the color. So they have an animal. So it's a dinosaur. It's like a Tyrannosaurus, or it's a Triceratops. Color orange, and it's number 3. So you have like 3 different things. Like, do not forget, we gave you 3 things. Pick one. You just remember one thing.
Yeah.
Now, from what I've heard coming off that attraction, your brain's completely scrambled anyway, so the chances of remembering any of those 3 things is pretty slim.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that there has been a lot of confusion with people getting off the ride, even with those announcements in the locker loading room. When you get off, there's still people who are like, "Wait, my stuff! I put my stuff is in the lockers in the other room."
Yes.
And they're like, no, there you get it from in here.
Yeah, and that's the excitement taking over. They're just so excited to get on that they don't care about anything else. Take my stuff, keep my phone. I don't care. They're like, "Let's go," and then they get out, and it's just people, I think, making it too confusing because it's a very easy system.
It is. Sure.
It's because people who don't listen to theme park podcasts are, dare I say it, idiots. You get people who know theme parks and then people who haven't got a clue. But yeah, like
Right.
we said, it's a brand new system that we haven't seen used at an Orlando theme park before, and it is going to take people a while to get used to it. But I would like to see it used a lot more, especially like I think I said this on the podcast last week, that I think you're going to see a lot of things that they will be looking to implement into Epic Universe, put into Universal Orlando for the testing phase to work out the kinks, to figure out. And I think this is one of those things. And I think it seems like talking to you guys are ramping it up that it's perfect. It works. Like you said, Gary said, it works. How can something work too efficiently? But yeah, it's what you want.
It definitely works more efficiently than the guests can handle.
Yeah.
That's because they're just not used to it.
And like, I think the other thing that makes it a little confusing for the casual guest who's not paying attention is that it's the only attraction that uses that system. So like if you've been on Hulk or you've been on Forbidden Journey, you know what to expect, and then you get here and it's completely different. So I think if they were to like, if Epic Universe is able to use this on every ride, and when you go there, it doesn't matter what you're going on, you're going to do it this way. I think that's going to be a lot smoother. And if they could figure out ways to adjust all of the locker rooms in, USF and IOA to be able to do that, that would be really cool. Although I know they've already been like moving from the old lockers to the new ones that use this ticket scan instead of the fingerprint.
Yes.
So they've already been doing a lot of locker remodeling, and I don't know that it's necessarily worth it to go through and do it again to make it double-sided.
Like, look, this is where I'm going to show myself up now, because when we came over for the weekend, this is where I had trouble. Even though those ticket scan ones, the fact that I had my lanyard with my annual pass in one side and my hotel room key on the other side. So I'd go in, I'd scan, I didn't know, I'd just hold my lanyard up and it'd be my room key. So then I'd come back to get my stuff out and have it the other way around and be trying to open it with my annual pass and go, it won't open. It won't open. And then I'd be going to an attendant like, my locker won't open. It's like, it's because you're using the... And I was like, oh.
The look of disappointment on your face. I'm glad that we got that.
You just realize everything that I say about people who don't know about theme parks. I'm someone who's supposed to know about theme parks, but apparently doesn't.
Yeah.
Still vulnerable.
I tell you what I love specifically about that queue. That raptor statue at the front of it is phenomenal. I have reached out to the powers that be and said, we need something. A paperweight, a key ring, something with that on, because it is so awesome.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
A little like Christmas stocking holder.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny, Universal, like
ornament.
For all the merch Universal do, they do seem to miss out on obvious things at times. And I know tons of people would buy them.
I'd throw my money at that in a second.
Yeah,
I would.
I'd probably spend, if it was like a little like iron or something, some kind of like desk ornament, I would have it sitting right here.
Yeah.
Probably $75. Just take my money.
A snow globe. Like, theme parks do snow globes all the time. It doesn't fit, but who cares?
Yeah.
Snow globe.
A snow globe would be awesome.
Something else I want to say about the queue. As somebody who, Jurassic Park is one of my all-time favorite movies. It's in my top 5. I'm not sure where exactly in the ranking, but I adore that movie. I really hate the new Jurassic World movies.
Ooh,
But I think as a queue, it incorporates enough of the original Jurassic Park for me that pays homage to that I really appreciate. So you've got the Mr. DNA video clips. You've got Dr. Ian Malcolm's book. I think Ellie Sattler's book is in there too.
And Alan Grant.
And Alan Grant's book. There's just like little Easter eggs there. And then it's just such a small little detail, but I was obsessed with it from the first time I ever wrote it, that I just love every time. When you go through the interior rooms, once you get past the statue room, every room from then on to the lockers, they have overhead lights shining through the grates. So the ceilings, instead of just being flat ceilings, they're grated. So there's holes. And so on your skin is the pattern of the light in the grate, which is from Jurassic Park, the original Jurassic Park movie. It's the ABCD E of the chromosomes in the movies.
Okay.
But it's the same lighting effect.
Awesome.
And the second I walked in the room, I'm like, oh, it's from the movie. oh my God, that's so cool. And it's just such a little thing that they decided to do, but it really adds to the ambiance and it gets you pumped up, man.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's what makes it okay to have World in Park, because they did that crossover so well. Because I was thinking, okay, is this going to be kind of weird that we're just, okay, it's just World now? No, they really meld the two together where it's, okay, you get a little bit of this where the traditional people and maybe the new school people are kind of blending together and everybody can enjoy it.
Everybody's happy.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose it kind of makes sense as well, doesn't it? When you think about Jurassic World, it was built on pretty much the same site as Jurassic Park, so it does kind of work. I've never thought about it that way, actually.
Is it the new bar?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they go
Yeah,
into
it's
the
the
old
same
Discovery Centre, don't they? The kids, when they go off, they end up in the old Discovery Centre.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right.
Oh, Gillian, you call yourself a fan.
Well, I'm confusing Jurassic Park 2, okay, which is with Ian Malcolm again.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the new Jurassic World movies. So,
Yeah.
forgive me.
No.
Which the world movies seem to have forgotten Isla Sorna. They,
Site
that's one thing where I was like, they have to get all these dinosaurs off to the mainland. It's like, what about the other island? It's like right there, isn't it?
Right
Just take them over there. What happened to all those dinosaurs?
They're already dead. Cool, right. If you want to ride VelociCoaster, of course, the only people you need to reach out to are Mouse and Muggle, so I'm going to pass it over to a little ad break, and then we'll be back to talk about the coaster itself.
Have you taken a stroll down Diagon Alley and visited Gringotts Bank? Taken a ride through New York with Jimmy Fallon? Visited the Truffalo Trees in Seuss Landing or hung out with a real-life Transformer? No? Then what are you waiting for? At Universal Orlando Resort, there truly is an option for everyone. Or if you're leaning a little more towards pixie dust rather than wands and potions, Disney destinations around the globe await your arrival. No matter the adventure, our sponsors have you covered. Be sure to let the experts at Mouse and Muggle Travel Company take care of all your travel needs, earning the distinction of being an earmarked agency specializing in Disney destinations, as well as becoming one of the first to be named a You Preferred agency with Universal Parks and Resorts Vacations. Mouse and Muggle Travel Company will ensure you receive top-rated customer service. Just visit mouseandmuggle.com to fill out a no-obligation quote request, or send your request to info@mouseandmuggle.com. Their team can take care of you no matter where in the world you want to go. With a flick of their wand and a little bit of pixie dust, the process will be so seamless, some might even say it's simply magical.
Welcome back, everyone. It is now time to talk about the coaster itself. But before we get into it, I know we've kind of all done, and I know what everyone's going to say. I want everyone to go around and describe the VelociCoaster in one word. Gillian.
Well, I'm not going to say intense.
That's what I was expecting.
Oh, gosh. Phenomenal.
Judson.
Breathtaking.
Ooh.
Kenneth.
Thrilling.
Nicole.
All right, then that'll leave me with perfect.
Wow. Big words. So talk to me. The coaster experience itself, it has, obviously, like looking at it and watching point of views and all the rest of it, it seems like they have took a coaster and went, right, what can we put in it? We'll put a top hat. We'll put 370-mile-an-hour launches in it. We'll put an inverted stall. We'll put a double helix. We'll put this in it. It's just like, put all the coaster elements on a dartboard, fling some darts at it, and let's see what, right, just chuck them in. But it seems to come together amazingly well.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
I am a coaster head. I coaster count, so I count all my coasters.
How many?
Will go anywhere and everywhere. I'm pretty crappy. I'm just under 100. I'm trying to get over 100 by the end of the
Shame.
summer. I know. I just kind of started getting into the hobbies seriously recently, so I'm behind. But I've always been my whole life. Everything. I'm obsessed with amusement parks, roller coasters, any place that could get me up high and fast. I'm there. So this for me is my number 2 most intense coaster I've ever been on. And so out of almost 100 coasters, that's saying something. Like,
so what's your number 1?
Sky Rush at Hershey Park.
Oh, Thigh Crushers, apparently it's known.
Thigh Crush?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. The wing seats go over outside of the track, and it's absolutely terrifying.
Oh,
it's got some crazy ejector air time. So you literally feel like you're going to fall out.
Awesome.
So this is only second to that. And it's just, It's just amazing. I wasn't prepared for how thrilling it was going to be because, like you said earlier, I'm kind of used to the theme park version of roller coasters, which are still, they can be plenty intense, but this one is as intense as something I would expect from Cedar Point or from, I don't know, any other amusement parks. But it's a really good coaster with unique elements that I haven't experienced before.
Well, and they do, like Leah was saying, there are all these high points where there's the roll and the top hat. But in between, you do still have those parts where it's scenic and slows down a little bit. You're catching that natural speed from the ride, but you do not slow down. But you have a time where you're like, oh, here's Sleep Room 6. Okay, oh, here's the top of the lagoon. Okay, here's the detail with the raptors. And then it's just this intense part. So it's balanced. It's not go, 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 go. You really do. You get to take in the land. And that's where, the line and the ride complement each other, where you get that whole experience and then you take it in. And then it's just when you relax, they put you upside down and you're upside down for 2 seconds. You're like, am I going to fall out? And it always keeps you guessing.
Yeah, I remember when, before it was open to guests and we were just looking into the paddock and I was like, boy, that looks like a lot of fun. But that top hat, I am nervous about it.
Really?
So then I get on it and I don't ever take my glasses off on roller coasters. I've never had a problem. I don't leave them in the locker or anything. This is the first time ever that I took my glasses off while I was on the ride and just held them in my hand because I was certain I was going to lose them. Because that first paddock section, which looks nice and fun, it was so much more intense than I was expecting, to the point that by the time we got to the top hat, that was actually the least scary thing on the ride. Wow. Yeah, like that top hat is kind of your one chance to be like, yeah, okay, like we're going up this crazy hill, but at least that's the one thing that we're doing right now. It's like your time to breathe, and then you go back down and whips you around again. You kind of feel like Loki when Hulk slams him into the floor.
Right. You're not selling it to me at the moment, Kenneth, by the way.
In a good way.
In the best of ways. Yeah.
In the super fun way to get slammed into the ground.
Gillian, my motion sickness on coasters isn't the best. You have seen it firsthand. I am slightly nervous. Like the intensity of it doesn't bother me at all. Like I've ridden, so I think probably the most intense coaster I've ever ridden is probably Smiler at Alton Towers, and yeah, it's Jesus.
How many inversions is that? Is
14.
That 14.
It's split into 7 and 7, and then it has it's 7 inversions in a very tight space. And then you come out of those first 7 inversions and do a vertical lift hill like on Rip Ride Rocket, a little small one. I came out of those first 7 inversions, my eyes were rolling in my head, and I have never had that before. It is so intense. But I came off it okay. But again, doing Hagrid's when we came over the weekend, I got off it feeling slightly nauseous. I'm hoping that was it was because I was a long day and I hadn't really had anything to eat. But it does. I know I can get off courses and be nauseous, like day spoiling nauseous. Nicole, you and I have had conversations about putting certain things in place for that. Do any of you experience motion sickness, and how was it on that attraction?
The second time I ever rode it, I got a gnarly headache. And I don't feel like my head got banged around because for a fact, I know that Hulk and Rip Ride Rocket will give me a headache pretty much every time. If I'm not like super hydrated, I'm like holding myself super tight in the chair so I don't, smack my head around. But I didn't feel like my head was smacking around, but I got a gnarly headache. But it was a very hot day. It was towards the end of the day, so I was probably dehydrated. But that time it hurt me a little bit.
I think it has a lot to do with just Florida and the heat, like you said. By the time you get to the end of the day and you're dehydrated, your body's not quite right anyways. So just doing those things, staying hydrated. If you need to take, I take Dramamine Naturals. Now I'm pretty desensitized to all of it, so I've never had any issues. I get migraines and I've been fine on it day, morning, noon, night, whenever I ride it. But I think the biggest thing is just just take care of yourself before you get on. And that's just general theme park 101.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, just surviving the day in Orlando. But Jillian, I could see that though. Like if you weren't already in the right mindset, maybe, because you're taking on a lot of force when you're turning and twisting. So sometimes that's actually Rip Ride Rocket. I think the second or third time I ever rode it, I got off and my head was pounding. My stomach felt weird. I was like, my body is not right. But I'm like, I think I left my spleen over there and my lungs are over there. My heart's somewhere down there. So yeah, I think staying on top of it and just, I don't think it's anything anymore. I could see Hulk, Hagrid's, Rip Ride, all of those affecting you way more than this.
Okay.
Personally.
No alcohol before you ride it.
Have you met
That's
me?
a big one.
You were encouraging me to drink it last time.
Okay, but not right before you ride
Fair
this.
enough.
Let it settle.
Yeah, it's intense, but it's smooth. Like all of the transitions are really smooth into each other. Like even the beginning where it's like pretty tight together and it moves quickly, all of the elements feel like they transition well.
Okay.
If that makes any sense.
Yes.
Like it's not one of those things where even on like The Mummy where it's like super tight in turns, some of those turns are more violent than a lot of the things that you're going to see on the front half of VelociCoaster.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense actually. I know we did Mako at SeaWorld when we came over in February last year, and we rode it. Jade and Tracy rode it 3 times. Twice was enough for me. I was starting to feel like, yes, I think I'll just sit the next one out. I mean, that is intense. Jesus. That first lift hill, we got to the top of it, and I was like, holy this is high.
Yeah. That's one that the first time I rode Mako, we were like, I wasn't really paying attention to how high up we were. And I was like, I looked down and I was like, oh my God, we must be close to the top. Oh, we're only halfway there.
Yes.
Oh no.
It is terrifying. Judson, you never got to
It's
talk
going to be a good one.
about the attraction itself when we were talking about it before. You know, how all those elements, how is it for you? Like, not nausea, we're just talking about the coaster itself at this point.
Oh, for sure. I was really surprised. So I got to ride it on the first day of pass holder previews and then back again on like the opening day of the thing. And the ride was different. During previews and everything, I think they weren't launching at full speed yet. Like they were still trying to keep everything like just to get it testing because it was significantly, it felt faster on opening day. The coaster really is in 2 halves. It's probably the second or third most intense coaster for me. Steel Vengeance at Cedar Point is definitely more intense. This is definitely more intense.
Yet.
Yeah, that is the only, as a pure roller coaster experience, that's the only one that I can say for my taste is without a doubt better than VelociCoaster.
Okay.
I only have like 60-ish credits, so it's not a ton, but it's
enough.
Enough to have like a moderate opinion on it, you know. And then I got a ride on Lightning Rod at Dollywood.
Okay.
Back when the launch was still like at full speed, like in the back row, and it was insane. But it was another one of those things where it was at the end of the day and like kind of hot and dehydrated, whatever. But the second half of VelociCoaster is just so open and free and coming out of that front half that's also tight and so close together and where you feel like it's really, really kind of, it feels like they're hunting you at that point, and then you almost feel like you escape for a little bit, like you can getting over that top hat and whatever. And then it just opens up. And I think that the most insane moment for me is just that mosasaur roll at the end of it. I've never experienced anything like that on a coaster ever. Like it feels so strange.
And it's right at the end. It's the most thrilling. And when I went through that element, I was like, holy shit, we're going in the water. And it's the last element before you get to the station. So to put it all right at the end and just to backload it like that. Whoa, I got to the station. I was like, oh, I need a cigarette. Like, holy crap, that was insane.
Because it's not like a pure Heartline roll. Like it's not like a straight thing. It's kind of like warped a little bit up into the side. And so like it feels smoother. Yeah. I don't know.
That is the bit I am looking forward to the most. I think doing it over the water just makes it so awesome.
Do we all do hands up on the mosasaur?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Always.
Cool.
See, I know Michelle is going down for Horror Nights in September, and she is herself about riding that ride. Like, she's excited. She really wants to ride it because she's a massive Jurassic World fan. But me and Chris keep having her life on it at this point. And her biggest...
I don't understand it. She won't ride Rip Ride Rocket because of the lift hill, the vertical lift hill.
No.
And she feels like she's going to fall out.
No, actually, the reason... It is to do
she's
with
afraid
that
she's gonna
lift
get
hill.
stuck.
Yes, that's what it comes down to. Because there was a post on one of the annual pass holder groups about a week and a half ago where people got stuck, and I was like, "Oh my god, I hope Michelle doesn't see this." 20 minutes later, I get a tag in that post from Michelle Fletcher. Nope. And I'm like, "Oh, I'm
You
never."
just report it to admin. Like, take this down quickly.
I'm determined to get her on it at some point. But I think Michelle's biggest issue with VelociCoaster is the fact that there's no over-the-shoulder restraints. That's what scares her, I think, and that feeling of, like you kind of said, you feel like you're going to come out of your seat. And I can imagine that inverted stall not having a shoulder restraint would feel very different from if it would.
Yes and no, though.
To me, I felt more like I was going to fly out of my seat in the back row going into that first dive through the rocks than I did in the Mosasaurus roll. You know, the very first one. You know, I felt more like I was coming out of my seat there than I ever was during the Mosasaurus roll, because that's like a little bit of floating type thing. It's like floater air versus ejector air.
Right.
And like that's ejector, like that first little bit through the rocks.
Yeah.
Yep.
You feel your legs brace and trying to find some part of the ride where you can kind of lock yourself in. I get off the very first time, I look at Jeff and I go, "Was that a workout to you too?" Because my hips were sore. Because I was just locked up. Yep. And then you start loosening up as you go, and you're like, "Okay, just take me. I don't care."
Chris scared the crap out of her last week by talking about the... I'm going to wind her up on next week's show as well, because I've been discovering a lot more about this. We called it a rollback. It's not. We'll get into that next week's show. I don't want to go, but where it gets launched backwards to get up and over that top hat. I think she would die.
I pray for a rollback.
Me too.
3.
So I've been on the tallest roller coaster in the world, the second fastest roller coaster in the world, which is King Ka at Six Flags Great Adventure in New Jersey. And so it's basically Top Thrill Dragster, but a little bit taller, a little bit faster. And I pray for a rollback on that one every single time. That would make my life. So the top hat on VelociCoaster really, it's like, it's like a little baby one.
How high is it?
It's 430 something feet, I think.
That's still quite
really
tall.
Freaking tall.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean the VelociCoaster one, not the...
Oh, I have no idea.
150.
Oh, brilliant.
155.
Yeah, somewhere in that.
It's peanuts compared to King Ka.
It's nothing.
Yeah.
But that one I would kill for.
It is 155 feet. I just looked it up.
There you go.
I like the fact that it goes quite slow over the top, because like you say, we talked about on our recent episode the top 5 views, and I think the view from the top of there, does it slow down enough that you actually get a chance to have a look around or not?
I think it depends on where you're sitting. If you're in the back,
it also depends on how prepared you are.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to be pretty deliberate about taking a look around up there. Like I probably didn't really take a look at the view until my third ride.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you feel your head sticking out and you're like, what can I see? Take it all in. Yeah, I wish if we had like 2 more seconds of like lag up there, that'd be nice. And that would also maybe get us our rollbacks, but
yes.
Everybody lean back.
Yeah, lean back.
I wonder if that would work if you talk to everybody in line with you to say, look, everybody, when we get to that point, just push back as hard as you can.
I'd try it.
I know you would. Gillian will have a Facebook group at the end of this of like rollback. We want rollbacks, and it'll be just inviting people on to get together to push back as hard as they can.
I think it's possible for it to like balance on the top of the top hat, and that's why they had to put those little fins up there.
Okay.
It's technically possible.
Oh.
Yeah, that's why they're there. It's just to like give it a little nudge just in case, like the 0.000 whatever chance it is.
Yeah.
Like it just lands there. But that would be incredible.
It would be interesting and pretty scary.
My eye line was always drawn to the bottom of the lift hill, because it doesn't matter what time of day it is. There's always a crowd of people who are standing there right at the entrance, just watching.
Of course.
So I just look down and I see all the people that are standing there. So that's where my sight goes. No, I will tell you something, Lee. Though I was trying to convince Christina. So Christina Frindell, friend of the podcast, she hasn't ridden most of the roller coasters at Universal. She's planning to next time. She's working up to it. And she's convinced now she's going to go on VelociCoaster. I was trying to convince her to go on, and somehow we were going to sneak. Yeah, we were trying to sneak a recording device. I was trying to get her on it so bad so that we could record ourselves on it for our first ride.
Yes.
I couldn't think of a way to get it on past the metal detectors.
God, there's still a ton I want to talk about. So specifically, you, at this point, is there a specific point in the coaster you would recommend people to ride for a certain experience?
Front and back for sure. Front for the front half of the coaster, back for the last half. I got one front row ride from single rider queue, actually, that was like really incredible. Yeah. Whenever they take somebody from the VIP line, if there's a single VIP that wants to ride in that, they'll pull from the single rider line and stick them in the front row instead of pulling from the front row line. Yeah.
Weird.
That happened. Yeah, it was. I took it. But the front half of the ride in the front row is incredible. Like, it's so much more intense than the back half, in the front half of the ride, at least.
Who was the VIP that you got to sit next to?
I have no idea.
Ugh,
some random teenage girl. I don't know. But when we got off, she was like, "Is this your first time riding this?" And I said, "No." She was like, "I didn't think so. You weren't acting like it." And I was like,
and it's when you find out it's some random TikToker who's got like 1 million followers.
Right.
I'm sure it was, but I have no idea.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's a good thing. I'm proud of you for not knowing who she was. Anybody else got any opinions?
Not riding front row.
Riding the back row over the top hat, because you get that pull.
Yes.
And you can really take it on. You really feel, because at the front you almost kind of slow down so you can see it, but you can feel that pull and that intensity that goes with it, and it just continues all the way through the roll at the end. So I think that makes the second, I guess, like you were saying, the second half a little bit more intense to be back there.
So then, going off what you said there, Nicole, then riding it at night must be an even more incredible experience, because you won't see specific elements of it until it happens.
Yeah. Because it's totally different. Not only do you take in the lighting package and all that, but you're feeling a totally different, like, butterfly in your stomach than what you do up front, for sure.
My only front row ride was also my only night ride. And when I tell you that the difference in intensity between a night ride and a day ride is literally night and day. I got off of that front row night ride, like, that hurt. And then I rode it again, like, the next time during the day, and I was like, that was so easy. Like, it's such a huge difference.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, is it, so that first paddock section, is it lit at all at night?
I think so.
No.
Lightly.
Yeah, there's like up lights.
Yeah, like it's lit from below, like in the grass and stuff.
So more or less than Hagrid's.
More
lit.
Well, sorry. Less. My bad. Other one. Hagrid's is different though, because the lights are on the front of the car, and so you can see more of where you're going.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I can see more on Hagrid's, even if VelociCoaster, like, technically has more light.
Okay.
Because of the way the lights are going.
Yeah.
And the blue lights that are mounted on the car aren't lighting a ton.
Okay.
They're there for the effect. They're not there for actual seeing.
Yeah, kind of like you said.
Those are there for raptor defense.
Oh, right. Sorry. Right. The raptor repelling blue light.
I think they're there to give it an awesome look from across the lagoon, to be fair.
That too.
That's just a good, like, happy coincidence side effect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. My night ride, so it was kind of funny. So my husband accidentally got a night ride the night before me. So we have a 2-year-old. So we were having to trade. And so he went to ride it at like 7 p.m. and it broke down. There was something that happened. It was a super long line, because none of the times I've waited more than like 30, 45 minutes. And so he was there past closing. It closed at 9 and he was there. He got off the ride at like 9:30 or something. Nice. It was crazy. So it was an accident. He didn't intend for it to be a night ride, but it was. And I was so jealous. And he comes off of the ride going, "Oh, Jill, I'm really sorry, but you've got to get on a night ride. I was like, stop. Oh my gosh, stop talking about it. And that's all he would talk about for the entire night. And the next day he's like, hey, Jill, remember that time I rode VelociCoaster at night before you? And it was really amazing. And you didn't.
And you are Steven.
So the next day, that was my one goal. I was like, I've got to get a night ride. But they had closed it a little bit early, the line early the day before because of how crazy the line was. So I was like so worried that they were going to do that again. And so I was so worried. I was just like standing by there waiting to get in the line. And I didn't want to do single rider. So to this day, I've never done single rider because I wanted to time it so that I would actually get on when it was nighttime because it was like dusk at that time. And I was afraid that if I did single rider, I'd get on too fast. So I was single rider in the line. And the couple behind me at one point goes, excuse me, are you by yourself? And I said, yes, I am. They said, why aren't you in the single rider line? And I said, to be honest, I'm trying to get a night ride. And she goes, oh my gosh, me too. That's what we're doing. So they were doing the same thing. But so when I eventually got on, it was just like the slightest sliver of sunlight right at the horizon. And I was like, oh no, it's not completely black. So I don't know if that soured my experience a little bit, but it was still amazing. It was still amazing at night. It was still incredibly intense. And I think I was sitting towards the back on that ride. And so exactly like you said, you can't see those elements coming. It's just way cooler. It's way cooler at nighttime.
Because it's weird. I think back like the amount of times we've been to Universal, I think the only night rides I've had on any coasters at Universal at this point are Hagrid's and Rip Ride Rocket. Never rode the Hulk at night.
Hulk is cool with the lighting package. It's really cool.
Yeah, Hulk at night is fun.
I've never done, I know it's not a coaster, but I've never done Doctor Doom at night. I think that will be a cool one. Even it's not worth the wait, but it'd be pretty awesome. We always tended to do, let's do the rides that are indoors during the dark, because that makes sense. Let's do the Mummy. Yeah, because that's the same any time of the day.
Fun thing about VelociCoaster at night, in the last queue room before you get on, there's the screens where they have Claire
Chris mentioned
and
this
Owen.
on last week's show.
I know what you're going to say. I noticed that the last time.
Yeah, they have Claire and Owen talking to you there from she's in the control room and he's in the launch tunnel. And the background behind them out the window is different based on what time it is. So if you get on it at night, it's nighttime out their window on their screen. That is above and beyond.
Yes.
That's so good.
I'm glad you said that, Kenneth, actually, because Chris mentioned it on last week's show that he'd heard that was true, but hadn't actually experienced it for himself. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. It's a tiny little thing, but makes a massive difference. Yeah, that's so cool.
That's when I knew that Bryce Dallas Howard and Chris Pratt are actually there all the time, giving that presentation. Park open to park close. And I think that's cool.
This is the most expensive ride in history.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have a residency at Universal Orlando Resort.
Right. Well, I guess that's going to wrap it up. I just kind of want to ask at this point, is this the best ride at Universal Orlando? See Judson's face. He says no.
No, it's an easy yes.
It is, yes. Okay.
Yeah, it's easily yes.
Wow.
To me.
Oh, Kenneth's in deep thought there.
It's hard for me too because I love Hagrid so much, and there's such different rides. It's really hard to compare them. I'd say right now it is yes.
Okay.
I refuse to answer for about 3 more months at least. I know for a fact on that high of the brand new ride. It's super thrilling. Had a lot of really awesome experiences with it, but Hagrid's, like you said, is a whole different thing. It's a whole different ball game. It's apples to oranges, really. And that has, like Jeff proposed, and the first thing that we did was go on Hagrid's right after that. So that has a special place in my heart. So, we went and took the little ring picture in front of the castle in Hagrid's, but then we were lucky enough to go to the media preview for VelociCoaster. So it was just 2 very special experiences on 2 very special rides. So I think until I can because now I'm just pretty much riding VelociCoaster because I'm like, oh, you want to go again? We just got off 5 minutes ago. So we're kind of doing that thing. I think I gave myself until HHN to decide, kind of ride them both a little bit more to be fair and not let my emotions and the thrill factor take over because I don't know yet. But
yeah. For me, it's really hard because my Spider-Man is my favorite ride, bar none, just overall. And I think that has a lot to do with the first time I rode it. It was like maybe only within the first year of IOA being open, and I was like 10 or 11. And it completely blew me away in a way that no other ride ever did until maybe Forbidden Journey. But I still don't think it was to that level with how much it hit me. So is VelociCoaster the best roller coaster at Universal? 100% yes, without a question. Best ride? That's really hard for me to answer, just because a ride can be so many different things, and can have aim to achieve so many different things. So I don't know that I could say it's the best ride, but it definitely does what it does the best out of anything that I've ever been on.
And do you all agree that we are talking about a roller coaster here that has the right to sit in, that top 5, top 10, whatever it may be, of coasters in the world at this point?
100%. I've already seen it pop up on a couple of lists.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Nice.
Cool. Like, it just gets me so excited for, like you guys have already said, over the last sort of 5 or 6 years, we've had an inkling of what Universal are going to be put in next. And we haven't really got that at the moment. There's nothing kind of being hinted at. I mean, there's this Harry Potter VR broom, whatever the hell that thing is, that seems to be just popping up on the radar. But as a rule, there's usually some pretty substantial rumours of what's coming next, and we haven't got that at the moment. So it's going to be very interesting to see what is next. But as I said before, I love the fact that Universal have stepped back into their roots now and said, we are a teen to adult park, and that's what we're going to do. And I love that.
Agreed.
Definitely.
Yep.
Cool. Well, I really enjoyed that. It's making me incredibly sad that I'm going to have to wait until next September to get to ride the thing. I will have to live vicariously through you guys and Michelle when she has to clean her knickers after she's been on it in September. Because as I said, she is incredibly nervous and I am having great fun with that, unfortunately. But yes, it looks like, and again, you guys have said it, an amazing addition to Islands of Adventure. And it's funny because we've talked about Islands of Adventure a lot recently, and there's been some posts in the Producers Club this week of people talking about, and I've found personally that we've spent a lot more time in Universal Studios Florida on our last few trips than Islands of Adventure, because I know it's got Hogsmeade, which was a massive addition to it, and Skull Island, and now adding this in, but that park still very much feels like the park it was when we first visited in 2004. It hasn't changed that much, and it's nice to see that it now is getting that love, that not only are they adding new things in, like a whole land, but they're upgrading. That's what I want to see now, is them upgrade those other islands that haven't really seen that over the last 5 or 10 years. So I cannot wait to get over there and experience for myself. Hopefully I won't puke, but who knows? Dramamine and all the rest of it. And thank you guys for joining me. It's been awesome. I have so enjoyed talking to you guys. It's been brilliant.
Oh, thank you. Thank you guys.
So
I'm sorry for my voice, but thank you.
I really appreciate you coming to talk to me about VelociCoaster. You have just made me even more excited to ride it, and I hope it's done the same for our listeners. But as of now, we will end the show, as we always do, with a Universal Is. And I have asked Judson, since though this is his podcast debut, to supply this one for us. But if you want to do it, all you've got to do is shoot us what you think Universal is in 3 words or less. However you want to get it to us. There's 1,000,001 ways you can send it to us at this point. I'm not even going to reel them all off, because you all know at this point. And of course, we will use them to end the show. But as for this week, Judson, it is over to you.
Universal is my favorite escape.
See you next week, everyone.
Guess that wraps things up for another unofficial Universal Orlando podcast. You guys did all right. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Pinterest, keyword UUO Podcast. Listen and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, or anywhere podcasts are found. You can find our blog at uuopodcast.com. Send us your spews, which Lou gets your poo recordings, questions, or comments to podcast@uuopodcast.com. Check out our friends, the Theme Park Duo, and our awesome sponsors, Mouse and Muggle Travel Company. So, until next time, don't give up your day job. Say cheese. See you later.